Yeah.
Oh, we don't have any more?
The other room.
Should be one more volume there.
The other room?
Maybe the other room we have problems.
Yeah.
193. Yeah, 193.
Yeah, we finish.
Finish the ice, right? I think we'll continue to the next ice and then we'll repeat. Did you look at this at all over this time?
With the feeling, sometimes I look at this week I will.
I remember I repeat one time.
Huh?
I remember I repeat one time.
You don't have. Make a copy then. Go in the office and make a copy.
Making,
Yeah, 194.
193, 194.
193 and 194 again.
Okay? Okay?
I didn't really know how to use it that well, so.
Okay. Normally, we used to go back. I want to finish this next days, and then we'll have more or less a complete thing, and we'll go back. So, we explained the whole concept of Imei HaHekef. It's the days that fill the cycle. And that is that there are 6 days, then there's a 7th day. 6 days corresponding to the 6 midas. Then there's a 7th day, which is Malchus. And Malchus is the end of that cycle. And because that the whole cycle is activated, is initiated. Initiated means started off with Oineg and Rotzen. There is Seichel above the Midas. It's not just a reaction, but it is there is a higher inyan. There is the Seichel that makes it happen, and there is the Rotzen and Oineg that isn't the Seichel. In other words, it's an intended gilui. Intended. It's a revelation that doesn't happen automatically. Something that is intentional. Intention has a purpose. And at the end of that purpose, this is where the whole force of that intention is revealed. This is why Shabbos, Yom HaShvi, and with Malchus, this is where this Gilui ends, and this is why at that point there is this Gilui becomes strongest. That's why Shabbos, the Gilui Elokus is the strongest. This is the Gilui of the Rotzen, of the Oineg, the first intent why this whole cycle started, the whole Seder Ishtalshalas started off in the first place. So that Shabbos, it rises up to its original purpose, original will. This is why Shabbos is a higher day, is a holy day. So that's the cycle of 7. And after this 7 begins a new order of days starting from 1 again. And the Rebbe concludes this point that because that on the 7th day in Malchus, the original intent and the rotzin, the will to have this stuff, his gavus, comes to full revelation. That means that even that original initiation of the whole cycle, which is before the cycle started, really is also becomes part of the what's called of the Himei HaHekef, of this cycle. It becomes part of it. because this is what initiated it, and this is what gets revealed at the end of it. Now, the point in this, and that it's part of the cycle. The cycle represents what we call Seder Hishtalshalos, an orderly revelation of godliness into the world, which is limited and defined by what is appropriate for the world. It's a world-oriented gilui. It's not something higher than world. Even though it touches the original will, which is before the world came into being, but that will is also that there should be a world. And therefore, that higher will is also part of that cycle. And it's all related to that which world is able to tolerate and understand. And that's the number 7. Even though it includes Shabbos, it still represents the worldly cycle, the cycle of creation. Okay. Omnam. However, Shmoina, 8, is l'maylo mishiva. 8 is above 7. This is what this mimer is actually started with, to explain the meaning of Shmoina, of Vayom Hashmini. Shmoina l'mayla mishiva. 8 represents an Indian that is higher than 7. 7 is part of the cycle of Hishtalshalos, of the creation of the world. 8 is above that. The K'moi sheshiva l'mayla mishisha. That just as 7 is above 6, like we explained before, Malchus has a higher revelation than the spheres before it. Or Kamaimer, and as it says, Kol Hashvin Chavivin, that in the world, in all Giluyim, in all revelations in the world, the Shvi, Achavivin, the Shvi, have a special affinity, special love. B'shonim, when you talk about in all sevens, all the 7th are Havivim, and that we could see in every aspect. B'shonim, we look at it from of years. Shona Hashmi is the 7th year, is Shemitah, so that shows that it's a special year. B'chadoshim, and months, b'chedesh hashvi, Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim. Rosh Hashanah and Kippur is on the 7th month, because showing again the special quality of the 7th. So the 7th is Chavivim. K'moi kein shmoina l'maylo mishiva. Likewise, the 8 is above 7. But the Rebbe said in these 2 lines, the Indian that the 8 is above 7 is a different type of high of superiority than the 7th is above the 6. But the Rebbe is explaining this from the perspective of the 7 and the 6, is that one would say, like we originally started asking, why do you say there is 7 and then starts again? count the days contiguously, one after the other. So we explained that that's not the case, that there is a cycle, and the seventh is the completion of the cycle. In other words, we have seen from the cycle of 7 that even though they're all part of the same cycle, but the difference between one day and another day. So just as there is a difference between the 6 and the 7, even though they're both days and going in the same sequence, and yet the 7th is of a different quality than the 6th. Likewise, the 8th is in a different quality than the 7th, and the 8th is outside of this cycle. And regarding this it says, the Shmini hu sheshoimer as hahekif. The 8th is of a different caliber completely. It is not part of the hekif, part of the cycle. This is what shoimer as a hekif. These guards, guarantees, safeguards, shmira of the hekif. V'hainu. And what does this mean? This means the following. Ma sheho atzmi shoimer as hagilui. This represents a different level completely. And that is what the atzmi, the essence, the source, guards and makes sure that there should be the giluyim, there should be the revelations. Masho atzmi shemer hagilui. We'll learn a few lines and then we'll go back to discussing it. Shaharei hagiluyim hein kisheyesh ho'atzmi. Since that the giluyim are only possible kisheyesh ho'atzmi, when there is the atzmi. And again, I'll come back to discuss this. Okmoi oir hashemesh, just like the light of the sun, hu dafko, it only exists ksheyesh etzem hashemesh, when you can also see the sun itself. Avol kasher hashemesh nishka, but when the sun sets, conceals, lo yesh ha'oir v'hazib, then you don't have the light of the sun. V'zehu sheho etzem shoimer es hagilui. And this is the meaning that we said that the etzem guards the gilui. All right, so now you have to try and go into this a little bit deeper. Understand. Right now, what the Rebbe is saying seems to be what's called a simple truism. Yet the sun sets, you don't have the light. Because the light comes from the sun sets, you don't have the light. So what does it mean? It's shoimer as a hekeb. What we have here is just light, except when the sun sets, we don't see the light. What is the principle? What's so significant of what we just now said? And what does the Rebbe mean that the oil is only when there is the yatzim, ksheyesh ho'atzmi? What does it mean, ksheyesh ho'atzmi? You understand what I'm asking, right? You could see that this is something, there is something deeper, very much deeper than what meets the eye. To start discussing it, I'll start with a very simple introduction. There's a saying that Kabel as ho'emes mishe oimri. You should accept the truth from whoever says it. If somebody says something, even if he is not a special person, even if he is a simpleton, and even if he is not a ben Torah, But if he says something that's true, you should learn from him too. Makes no difference. You have to listen to what is being said, not who says it. However, clearly there's a big difference. Who says it? The same truth said by somebody in authority, somebody that you respect, has a different implication, has a different power. You listen, it carries much deeper than somebody who's not authoritative, that you don't respect. Somebody that you don't respect, and he says something that's true. So you accept it, you hear it, but you don't say, he said such a thing. I heard of such a saying, and it makes sense, but you don't relate it back to him because it's insignificant to relate it back to him. It doesn't make it any stronger, any greater to say he said such a thing. On the contrary, it makes it less. But if someone who is an authority and he says something, even though you have to understand it independently, it has to make sense. You can't just accept you learn Gemara with Rashi, and Rashi says something. You have to try to understand what Rashi says. You don't say, Rashi says it, that's good enough for me. You have to understand it. Why does Rashi say it? How does Rashi know it? Nevertheless, the fact that Rashi is the one who says it gives it a different significance, a different power. And in truth, its whole power is really from the etzem, because there is a person behind it. Otherwise, it doesn't have that significance. Using this analogy, we will go to the mashal the Rebbe gives. The sun and the light and the sun. Surely when the sun sets, there is no light. You don't see light. But this is not all that is said here. Because from this perspective, it means that when the sun is here, then you have light, not sun. You still only have light, not the sun itself. What is meant to be said, what the Rebbe is saying here, is that when the sun is here and you have light, you don't only have light, you have sun. You also have sun. And the fact that the light comes from the sun and the sun is out, that gives the light a different power, a different status. The fact that the light comes from the sun. It's not just plain light, there's a sun behind it. What is the difference? What does the sun contribute to the light? Besides that, you have light. And you say that along with from the light we take the sun. There's the etzem behind the light. What is it that the sun contributes and changes the light that you get because there's sun behind it? So this is an inyan that I'd like you to understand. We discussed it before, but I don't know who was there at the time when we discussed it. Light has many levels. Like we have this light. This light, or like a candlelight, is what we call a functional light. What functional means? It acts like a light. It does not change, doesn't say now because there's light here, so here it's day. It's not day, it's night. Except functionally, you could see because there is light. But really, in reality, it's night. And at night you can see. Except the light makes it able for you to see. And it doesn't change the night into day. It's still night. It's still essentially a time when when you can see. But when you have light by day, then that light has a different status. It's a different level. It's not only light that makes you see. It changes from night into day. The fact that you can see is a derivative, is a secondary level, is the lowest level of light. It's daytime, and therefore you can see. It's not night at all, it's daytime. There's no darkness. And therefore you can also see. But the difference between night and day is not only that you can see or not see. It's a different type of day, a different type of time. It's a different kind of time. Night is everything goes to sleep, and day everything goes to act. It's a different kind of time. At night you can do the Averim as Amidas, by day you can do the Averim as Amidas. This is what daytime is. Whereas a candlelight doesn't make it day. It makes it only that you should be able to see. Sunlight has that power, that special, additional effect that it actually changes from night into day. Changing from night into day, again, means not only that you're able to see, but it eliminates the night completely. It says, hey, it's not night, it's day. There's no darkness. Not like in candlelight where the darkness is still there, but you make able to see a certain thing. There's no darkness at all. Now, at first glance, one can argue and say that really the sunlight, the daytime, is the same as a candle. Except a candle is a small light, and the daytime is a big light. A candle illuminates only one area, and the daytime it illuminates a bigger area. So essentially, it is the same thing. It's only light that makes you see, except it illuminates the darkness. It illuminates a bigger area, and therefore you don't see any darkness anyplace else. You can't see as far as that. And therefore it becomes day. But it doesn't eliminate. You know what eliminate means? Take away completely the darkness. So this we say like this. If this light, if we did not see the sun, the origin where this light is coming from, then this is exactly what it would be. What?
Like a candle.
Like a candle, a big candle, big light that makes you see. Like, for instance, at dawn, when before you see the sun, when you see the sunlight without the sun, before nets, there are two periods. It's with a shachar, when the east becomes lit up, but you don't see the sun yet. That's not day yet. And then it's light, but not day. When the sun rises and you can see the sun, then it's day. What's the difference? You can see already. Why is it not day? The answer is that at that time, before the sun rose, what you have is a big light, a big candlelight, so to speak. It didn't take away, it didn't eliminate night, it may be able to see. But when the sun itself rises, then something new takes place. What is this new thing? This new thing is that the sun rose. And what's the sun? Sun is a special entity. Just like by us, in our world, in our earth, darkness is the fundamental, is the basic state. And in order to be able to see, you need light. But without light, you don't see, because darkness is the simple, fundamental state. In the sun, it's just the opposite. In the sun, light is a fundamental state. There is no darkness in the sun. It doesn't exist altogether. It's not that there's darkness and the sun takes away the darkness. By us, the sun comes and takes away the darkness. But in the sun, there's no darkness whatsoever. Light, it's light through and through. It's a completely different light, different state than what we have in terms of light. So when the sun rises, then what you see is that this light comes from a source that has no darkness. Not that it's a big candle. It's a source of light that doesn't have any darkness at all. The difference between a candle and the sun is not only in the size, it is what kind of light it is. A candlelight has a wick and has oil. And it burns the wick, and this is why there's light. So therefore, in the center of the light, it's light coming from darkness. The center of the light is dark. There's a wick. It's not light through and through like the sun is. It's light and darkness. It's light that eliminates, burns away the darkness and makes it light. Sunlight is different. Sun is light through and through. There's no dark spot inside the sun. There's no wick. So therefore, when the sun rises, that brings the recognition that this light comes from a source, not a big candle, but a source where there is darkness doesn't exist at all. It's only light. Once the sun rises, so then the light that we have changes its quality. Now we recognize that this light actually comes from a source where there is no darkness. And therefore, now we regard this light as one that takes away, eliminates darkness, makes it non-existent. Not only makes us able to see, but it eliminates it completely. Because not because of the light, but because of the sun. The sun, you have the etzem. You have the source. Having the source changes the quality, changes the perception of what kind of light it is. Then we can say, oh, it's daytime. It's not just light, it's day. Day means that there is no such thing as darkness at all. How can you say that? This light had to push away darkness. No, but there's the sun. The sun doesn't have to push away darkness. It doesn't have darkness. So that here the Gilui, this light is called the Gilui. This Gilui is a Gilui that comes to us, to the world, and it combines with our darkness. It's light that illuminates the darkness. But the Etzem, the sun itself, gives the Gilui a different power, a different significance than if we don't see the sun. If we don't see the sun, even if it's light, it's only light. When we see the sun, then it is day. It's not light, it's day. There is no darkness at all. this is the pshat, that behind every light, there's the etzem. The etzem is not light. The etzem is the source of light. And what is the meaning of this etzem? The principle of the etzem is that this light that comes from the etzem, as from the perspective, the way the etzem looks at it, is not that it just takes away darkness, but that this is the only truth there is, only light. That's what etzem. Darkness doesn't exist at all. And therefore it gives a different power to the hekif, to the part that that comes to the world. Okay? Understand that?
I don't understand how it's showing why it starts from the beginning. How it's Shabbos in relation of the sun.
Because if not for that, then the hekif would be just a temporary thing, just light without a base, like a candlelight in the moshel that we have. A candlelight doesn't give you the sense that this is really a change in time, a change in place. It's just a momentary change. It's not even a change, it's just darkness being illuminated. And therefore, if not for this etzem, then just as you understood in the sunlight, and if not for the sun, then the light would not have the same effect and the same significance as when it has the sun. When it has the sun, the significance of the light is that it has a power of its own. Not just it illuminates, but it has a power, a real presence, a real basis for being. The same thing is the Shema HaHekif. The Hekif is just a cycle of days, a cycle of creation. But this cycle of creation is just a temporary thing. What gives it its power? What gives it its reality? The reality comes from that which is higher than the Hekif. This is the Shmini, the Etzem, which is the Shomer as HaHekif. To explain the terminology, Shomer as HaHekif, the term Shomer as HaHekif. To understand this term, it would be like this. It's also a common illustration that we use. If you're going someplace, you're driving a car, and you have a certain destination that you're going to. And there's a big highway, and you follow the highway, no problem. The car can go, there's a big highway, no traffic, amachaya. Then you come to a roadblock. You know what a roadblock is? The police blocked off the road because the road is broken, because there's a flood, because whatever the reason is. They blocked the road. You can't go any further. So now, there are two situations here. One situation is that you were driving on this highway. There's no more highway, so you can't drive anymore. The other situation is, I was driving on this highway not because I wanted just this highway, but because I was going to someplace. So the highway doesn't exist anymore, but the place that I'm going to, and the fact that I want to go there, that is still there. So therefore, if I cannot go straight on this highway, I'll find other ways to go there. Because I wasn't going because of the highway. I was going because of where I was going, because I wanted to go. So this is Pshat Shomer as a Hekif. The Hekif is just a fact. It's like a highway that it's there. It's a limited presence that there's a Hekif of certain days. It's a limited presence. But this presence is there just because there is nothing interfering with it. Shomer as a Hekif makes it much more real. It says that it's there not just because it happens to work, but because there is something that wants it, that makes it be, or wants it to be. Just like in the case when you're driving on the highway, and you're going to continue to drive, even though there's a roadblock. Why? Because your reason to go there is much bigger than just the fact that there is a highway. The same thing is in the sun with the light. The light that comes from the sun, the light itself, is just a fact that there's a light. But if there's a sound behind it, then you say it's not just light. It's the sun wants to give light. There's a source for it. Then it has a completely different power, different base. Understand what I'm saying?
Why we say so you should say the Shmones at least all the week. Why we say Shmones only in the Shabbos?
No, Shmones is not Shabbos. Shiva is Shabbos.
And Shabbos is not Shabbos?
No. Shiva is Shabbos. Shabbos is included in the Mea Hekif. Shmoine is even higher than that.
You say the Shmones is kind of the Shabbos, no? This is revealed in the Shabbos?
No. That's what's revealed in the Shabbos. That's still part of Shvi. Shmoine is a different thing. Is higher than that which is revealed in Shabbos. This is the etzem.
So Shmona is in the 1 and 7 in the same like.
Right. That's right.
It's always Shmona.
It's always Shmoine. It's a different power. Like I said, the etzem. Like I give you the example that it depends, who says it. The fact that there is an etzem, there's a source, it gives it a different power, different authority. Even though the saying is the same. The idea is the same. It makes sense the same, but it has a different power. Because there's no authority. Because it's the etzem, that's shomer. That's shomer. So that if you repeat something and it makes sense and somebody asks you a question, and you don't know the answer, and it seems to be contradicting what you said. So then if you heard it from a simple person, you say, oh, yeah, it doesn't make sense. But if you heard it from an authority, and you have a kasha, you say, that's a kasha. Like you don't know the answer, but I have to look for the answer. Because the etzem is shomer as a hekif. You can't refute it so easily. Rashi says it. Tosfos says it. The Rambam says it. The Rebbe says it. You can't just refute it because you have a kasha. If you have a kasha, then it's a sign that you don't understand what it is fully. But not that you refuted what was said. But if you heard it, the same thing from a simple person, the minute it has a kasha, you throw it away and say, oh, there's nothing to it. Not going to start digging into it.
So Hekef is the question?
No, the Hekef is the seichel. Hekef is the seichel, it's the cycle. That's that which is within the midas and seichel that you can understand. Then you have a kasha on it. So it depends where that seichel comes from. If the seichel comes from Torah, and you have a kasha, you say, okay, let me look for the tenets. It doesn't change the fact, doesn't refute it. only a kasha. But if it doesn't have the shomer hakev, it doesn't have this higher authority, then you say if there's a kasha, it's nothing to talk about. Forget it, don't waste your time.
Shomer, Hekef, and Atzmi, Shomer, Akuvim is the same thing?
Yeah, that's what he says. Shomer hakev is the atzim. Masho atzmi shomer is a giluyim. That's what the Rebbe explains. But this inyan that the atzmi shomer is a giluyim, I explained to you that it means that the giluyim have a different resource, a different power, a different strength, and different authority, different effect, than if they didn't have the atzim behind them. If they didn't have the atzim behind them, it would be just giluyim. They have the atzim behind them, they have the giluyim that have an atzim. And therefore these giluyim have a different power, authoritative. Okay?
What does it mean by day of the week? What is the Shmonech is for Giluyim is the days of the week, the middle?
Right, the days of the week represent the Giluyim, the creation cycle. The Midas, Chesed, Sunday through Shabbos, is Chesed through Malchus. It's Giluyim.
And why we need the cycle all the time? Why it cannot be...
It is a cycle because these Giluyim, and I'm saying that do not happen by themselves. They happen because there is a will for them, there's a seichel in them. And that intent of the Giluyim is completed after the full cycle is accomplished, when it reaches Malchus. Then it is all completed.
You would say like, since Hashem want to give to us some amount of the chesed, but He cannot give everything in once. So He's like separated to the cycles. With each week He gives like little bit light, small portions, chesed like a first. Because of this we need the cycle.
Yes, that is true. That is true. And the main thing is that, although what you're saying is true, but besides that, the union of Giluyim means that it is something which can be known and can be understood, it can be accepted by the world outside. This is why it's limited. It's chesed, it's gvura, it's tiferes. There has to be some kind of a definition to it. And in this definition, this is what enables it to come to the world and come to and to be accepted and be realized and understood, recognized and be able to take.
I don't understand how come the Hekef can bring to existence without the essence.
Sorry?
How come the Hekef can come into existence without the essence?
Without the essence?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't exist without the essence. But it exists outside of the essence. It comes from the essence.
So it's not like the essence is always there?
Right. It is always there. And the essence is what makes the Hekef stronger.
But what's the difference between for the essence to be covered or not covered? It's always giving life to the Hekef.
That's what I explained to you, that just like the sun when the sun, when in dawn, before the sunrise, it's also light.
Yeah.
But you're missing the essence. It's a different kind of light.
But only the recognition of the outside makes the essence to be covered or not covered. If
Sorry?
in the measure of the sun,
Mm-hmm.
if it's cloudy, then we are
No,
saying...
no, not cloudy. The sun rises in the morning. And before it rises, but an hour before, the east is already lit up.
Yeah, but it's not, the essence is not covered. For our eyes it's covered in that measure. It's not like the essence is not there. If you go...
Okay, that's a completely different discussion. We're talking about our eyes. This is when it's significant. Day is when it's day by us, not when it's day in Australia. It's day here. And as the sun rises, before it becomes day, it becomes light. And it's not the same thing.
So we say the essence shomer ta'ikeh. So the most important thing, the essence it's going to be in the circle 7, 7, 7, 7. So why we care is connect to the essence, not connect to the essence. Like essence shomer ta'ikeh. Why we care is come from the light, exactly from the essence, or is this light have significance. The main point is shomer ta'ikeh, and this is it.
Because if you don't recognize how this hekif comes from the etzim, then the hekif also loses significance. Like in the motion of the sun. If you don't see the sun, you see light. So what's the difference you see the sun or not? You're saying, no, it makes a big difference. You see the sun, it becomes day. Completely different period of time. But don't see the sun, it's just light. The same as in the first motion I gave you. When you heard something, an idea, but the idea came from a child or from somebody who just, for some reason, thought of a good idea, but he's not really an authority on this, then the idea is the same. But there isn't no basis. There's no basis for it. When you agree with him and you think, oh, it's a good idea, you are in doubt. You're thinking, do I agree with him because it's really a good idea with me? Because I'm just as smart as he is. We both think of the same idea, but really it doesn't make any sense. When I have an authority say it, then it's different.
So shomer ta'ikeh is like two points. He's shomer on the cycle and give to each day like significance.
And that's the Shem Zak, you're right. This is the pshat that there's no gilui without the etzem. Even though there is gilui without the etzem. There's no gilui of a real essence without there being etzem. Without the etzem, it's not a significant gilui. It's like by a person. You always explain that a human being is very much different than lahava, an animal. Even though an animal may be doing similar things, but it's a completely different thing. Like I mentioned, that the cat is clean. The cat by nature is clean. You don't have to take it for a walk. The cat is clean. And lahava, a human being, is clean. Is it the same kind of cleanliness? Is it the same concept? Human being is clean, not just clean. He knows what it means to be clean. The cat doesn't know what it is. There is no shemer as a hekip over there. There's no etzem behind it. It's an insignificant cleanliness. So Shomer HaHekev gives the Hekev a different quality, a different value than just being there. Okay? Reb Chaim.
So when he says Atzmi Shomer is a Giluyim,
Mm-hmm.
so Atzmi Giluyim, it means the Giluyim is they connect to the essence, and Shomer is keep the cycle, right?
Shomer, it guards it. Guards means security.
Mm-hmm.
What does security mean? Security means that nothing should interfere with it. What can interfere with it? So, in fact, nothing can interfere with this cycle, with this 6-day cycle. But interfering means that you can question its validity. Just like I said before, you repeat something and you have a question, so then it loses its validity. Because it does not have a real basis, a real etzem that substantiates it. The Shmini gives it substance, the etzem gives it substance. Just like if you repeat something in the name of the Rebbe, say, even if I don't understand it, I know it's a real thing. I'd have to understand it, but it cannot be refuted. The fact that it came from there is a shomer. And shomer, as I said, is not only yes that it shouldn't fall apart, but it gives it a real substance. It's a real thing. It's not just, oh, I think maybe. It's a real thing.
So when I say something in the name of Rebbe, where is the shomer over here? What the concept of the shomer?
The Rebbe, the fact that it came from Rebbe. Because the idea itself is a good idea. It's a nice idea. But if it came from the Rebbe, it has a different power.
So if I doesn't mention it from the Rebbe,
What?
if I not mention it's coming from the Rebbe, so it's no shomer. It's only Gilui, but no shomer. But since I make some understand from the Rebbe, so this is the shomer. It's the keep the connection.
Okay? Sheho'etzem shomer es hagilui. The etzem guards the gilui, means it guarantees the gilui, it gives the gilui a substance of etzem. V'zehu inyan shomer es hahekev. And this is the same meaning that we say shomer es hahekev, because the hekev is the gilui. And the shomer es ha'etzem is shomer es hakev. This is shomer es hakev. V'zehu inyan, v'hu inyan mila b'shmini. And this is also the inyan that we have mila. Bris mila is in 8th day. And what is the point? Ad sheya'aver olov Shabbos achas. That's what it says in the Gemara. That the Rebbe said that the mila should be on the 8th day, so that you guarantee that you have 1 week and 1 Shabbos. Sheya'aver olov Shabbos. You should go through at least 1 Shabbos. And the word Ya'avoir means to pass over. Pass over means pass above. He passes above Shabbos Achas. Hainu l'mayla m'Shabbos. He passes over Shabbos and reaches that which is higher than Shabbos. Ukideyis of the Medrash Rabbah. As it says in Medrash Rabbah, Apostle Bezois Yovei Ahari El HaKodesh. Bezois, with this Aaron can come into Kodesh. So the Medrash said, Zechus Hamilo Hoiso Nichnes Asimoi. That what gave the Aaron, the Kohen, Godel, the power to go into Kodesh, the Zechus Hamilo Hoiso Nichnes Asimoi. The Zechus of the Milo entered the Kodesh Kodesh together with him. V'hainu, which means to say, Shalidei ha'avoras ha'orlo, that by removing the orlo, which is the bris milah, removing the orlo, shahu ha'halomas v'hasteirim, the orlo represents the halomas v'hasteirim, the concealments of godliness, nase alidei zeh ha'avoras ha'parso. To that, that comes about, right? And the alomas v'astirim are removed, and therefore, as a result of that, there is ha'avoras ha'pasa, ha'mafsekes, that you remove the pasa ha'mafsekes, the gap. Pasa means a gap, a space. Ha'mafsekes that intervenes, bein ha'kodesh u'bein kodesh ha'kodesh, between kodesh and kodesh ha'kodesh. That interference between Kodesh HaKadoshim and Kodesh is removed.
So what's the connection between the... So the Kodesh will be is connecting to the Shabbos here? Like how it corresponds, the two...
Right. Kodesh is like Shabbos. Kodesh is still part of the... Kodesh is where normally all the Kohanim can go in. Do the Aveda every day. Kodesh HaKadoshim, that is in a separate category. And there is a parsa, there's a separation between them. Kodesh HaKadoshim, Kodesh HaKadoshim. Nobody enters Kodesh HaKadoshim. Once a year, the Kohen Gadol can go in there. That's bypassing the Kodesh, going higher than the Kodesh. And that's B'schus HaMilah. Well, he says here right straight. The Kodesh HaKadoshim u'lamayla meKodesh. Kodesh HaKadoshim is above Kodesh. The Shabbos is bechinas Kodesh. Shabbos is the Kodesh. U'k'mesha kosev u'shmartem es HaShabbos ki Kodesh hi. The Pasuk says you should guard the Shabbos because it's Kodesh. But Kodesh HaKadoshim u'lamayla mizeh. Okay. So the big thing to understand is how etzem contributes to the gilui.
Just contribute.
It adds something. Where what you get there is not just gilui. You get a gilui with the power of the etzem, with the substantiation of the etzem. Which is, the gilui is the same, but it has a different power.